Hello, students. Today we'll talk about chapter number 4, A Question of Trust, written by Victor Canning. He's a British writer. He wrote many short stories, and this is one of those short stories which he had written. So let's begin. It is said that you must set a thief to catch a thief. Means this is generally, or this is the common thing among people, or people say this thing, that to catch a thief we must think according or like a thief thinks. But it is also said that there is honor among thieves, means one thief respects the feeling or respects another thief. Which saying does this story illustrate? Now such kind of the story or such kind of things are shared in the same story, A Question of Trust. Let's begin. Let's start. Everyone thought that Horace Danby was a good, honest citizen. Now he is the protagonist, main hero of the story, Horace Danby. He was honest. Everyone thinks that he was honest. He was about 50 years old and unmarried, and he lived with a housekeeper who worried over his health. Now he was all alone, though he was unmarried, but still he lived with a housekeeper, and she was very much worried about his health. In fact, he was usually very well and happy except for attacks of hay fever in summer. Hay fever is here hay fever. Hay fever means fever caused by or caused due to the allergy, or whether it is dust allergy or pollen allergy. Okay, that is hay fever in summer. He made locks and was successful enough to his business to have two helpers. Now his business was to make locks and sell them, and he was successful enough. Okay, and he had two helpers also. Yes, Horace Denby was a good and respectable but not completely honest. Now this is the main thing, that though he was a good respectable person, but he was not at all, or he was not completely honest. 15 years ago, Horace had served his first and only sentence in a prison library. Sentence here means, सेंटेंस डजंट मीन कि कोई सेंटेंस है, कोई वाक्य है, मीन्स सजा सुनाना. सो ही वॉज सेंट टू जेल or prison for some reason. Reason has not been mentioned here. He loved rare, expensive books, so he robbed a safe every year. Now, this was the special thing for him, that he loved some reading or keeping some expensive books. That's why he didn't have much money, so he robbed a safe every year. Means a single safe, एक तिजोरी को वो हर साल में, हर वर्ष में एक तिजोरी वो लूटता था, जिससे उसको इतना पैसा मिल जाता था जिससे कि वो एक्सपेंसिव बुक्स जो है वो परचेज कर सके. Each year he planned carefully just what he would do, stole enough to last for 12 months. Means it will remain, the money will remain for 12 months. Means he would earn, or he would steal the big amount of money that lasted for whole 12 months, and secretly bought the books he loved through an agent. And he, because he was not so rich person, so he couldn't purchase the books directly, those expensive books, so through an agent he would purchase or bought the books. Now walking in the bright July sunshine, he felt sure that this year's robbery was going to be as successful as all the others. For 2 weeks he had been studying the house at Shotover Grange, looking at its rooms, its electric wirings, its paths, and its gardens. This afternoon, the two servants who remained in the Grange while the family was in London had gone to the movies. Horace saw them go, and he felt happy in spite of a little tickle of hay fever. Hay fever, again, the same kind of fever. Tickle means झंझनाहट होना. Okay, that is tickle. Little tickle of hay fever in his nose. He came out from behind the garden wall, his tools carefully packed in a bag on his back. Now he was about to execute his theft. वो अपनी चोरी को execute कर रहा है. He noticed all things, that whose house was that, who means how many servants are there and who left the house right now. All the things, there were two servants, okay, and family was not there, that has gone to London, means everything he completely noticed, and now he was about to execute his plan. There were about 15,000 pounds worth of jewels in the grand safe. Now he knew this thing, that almost 15,000 pounds worth jewels will be there or is there in the safe of Grange house. If he sold them one by one, he expected to get at least 1,000, enough to make him happy for another year. He knew this thing, that if he robs that safe, means at least $5,000 or rupees, that has not been mentioned here, so he could get from there, and that will be enough to make him happy for the entire upcoming year. There were three very interesting books coming up for sale in the autumn. Now he would get the money, he wanted to buy them. Now he knew this thing, that some expensive books were about to come in autumn season. That's why he had to steal the things, steal the money. He had seen the housekeeper hang the key to the kitchen door on a hook outside. He put on a pair of gloves, took the key, and opened the door. He was always careful not to leave any fingerprints, because he was a very intelligent, he was very well versed in his work. That's why he knew this thing, that not to leave any kind of fingerprints. So he noticed that housekeeper hangs the key to the kitchen door, and he he left that place. He broke into that house and he opened the door. A small dog was lying in the kitchen. It stirred, made a noise, and moved its tail in a friendly way. Stirred means to move. So it moved because it was dog, and he saw some unknown person. That's why he moved. He made a kind of noise, and but he was not at all angry. He moved its tail in a friendly way. All right, Sherry, Horace said as he passed. All you had to do to keep dogs quiet was to call them by their right names and show them love. He already knew its name. So he says this thing, that if you want to be friendly with dogs, you must call them by their names and show love towards them. They will surely be, or very soon be, friendly with you. The safe was in the drawing room behind a rather poor painting. Horace wondered means thought for a moment whether he should collect pictures instead of books, but they took up too much room. Room means here space. In a small house, books were better. Now he went there in the drawing room, and behind a painting there was the safe. तिजोरी जो है वो पेंटिंग के पीछे की तरफ थी. So for a while he thought about painting, that he should collect paintings instead of books. But paintings need a big space, and he had a small house. That's why finally he decides that books were quite better. There was a great bowl of flowers on the table, and Horace felt his nose tickle again because he had the allergy or pollen allergy. So he felt that kind of tickling in his nose. He gave a little sneeze and then put down his bag. He carefully arranged his tools. He had 4 hours before the servants returned because the servants went for movie for the theater to the theater. So he knew that they will come in 4 hours, and he had to execute his entire things, entire thievery in 4 hours. Means before 4 hours he had to complete his task. So he was doing the entire work very carefully. The safe was not going to be hard to open. After all, he had lived with locks and safes all his life. Now it was not a difficult task, difficult work for him to open the lock of that safe because his main profession, his business was to make keys or deal in such locks. The burglar alarm was poorly built, and the burglar alarm means the alarm set in that safe. इस तरह की तिजोरी में इस तरह का अलार्म होता है जो कि तिजोरी को कोई भी इलीगली खोलने की कोशिश करते हैं तो वो अलार्म जो है बर्गलर अलार्म वो बच जाता है. So it was also very poorly built. He went into the hall to cut its wire. He came back and sneezed loudly as the smell of the flowers came to him again. Now, due to that disease, again he was sneezing. So he sneezed very loudly, but he was quite sure that there is no one there in that house. So he was all alone. So due to that flowers, due to the fragrance of the flower, he was sneezing. How foolish people are when they own valuable things, Horace thought. A magazine article had described this house, giving a plan of all the rooms and a picture of this room. The writer had even mentioned that the painting hid a safe. Now, how did he come to know about the safe? The safe is behind the picture or the entire house through a magazine, because in that magazine that well built house or the article was published in a magazine, and all the rooms and picture of this room or picture of this house was published in a magazine. So he read in that magazine, so he knew the entire house. But Horace found that the flowers were hindering him in his work. Hindering means making disturbance or बाधा डालना. So he buried his face in his handkerchief. Now, because the fragrance of flowers was disturbing him, so he covered his face with his nose and his mouth with the handkerchief. Then he heard a voice say from the doorway, "What is it, a cold or a hay fever?" Now he heard a voice, though he was all alone. According to him, he was all alone there in that house, but still he heard the question, heard a voice. What is it, a cold or hay fever? Before he could think, Horace said hay fever and found himself sneezing again. He answered even that this is hay fever, and he sneezed again. The voice went on, "You can cure it with a special treatment. You know, if you find out just what plant gives you the disease, I think you would better see a doctor if you are serious about your work. I heard you from the top of the house just now." Now that voice was a lady, means the lady's voice was there. So she says that you must take the treatment or cure it with a special treatment. And first of all, you must come to know that which flour gives you this trouble, gives you this disease, and consult a better doctor if you are serious about your work. It was a quiet, kindly voice, but one with firmness in it. A woman was standing in the doorway, and Sherry was rubbing against her. Sherry was a dog, the same dog. Sherry was rubbing against her. She was young, quite pretty, and was dressed in red. She walked to the fireplace and straightened the ornaments there. Now, when he turned, that whose voice is this? She was a beautiful lady. She was a quite pretty young lady, and she was dressed in red. And he completely shocked. The thief was completely shocked. Down, Sherry, she said. Anyone would you think I had been away for a month? She smiled at Horace and went on. However, I came back just in time, though I didn't expect to meet a burglar. She explained that I was not away for a month. So, what do you think, or how can you think that I was away for a month? So, and she explains that it is very good that I have come at the just means the right time I came. So, I was not expecting a burglar even. Horace had some hope because she seemed to be amused at meeting him. He might avoid trouble if he treated her the right way. He replied, I didn't expect to meet one of the family. He also replied because she was quite friendly. She didn't seem so angry. So he says that though I was not also expecting any one of the family members, she nodded. I see what an inconvenience it is for you to meet me. What are you going to do? She says that I think it will be inconvenient to for you to meet me. So now what are you going to do? So Horace said my first thought was to run, means I will go. I will run away. Then she says, of course you could do that, but I would telephone the police and tell them all about you. They would get you at once. So she tries to convince that no need to run away. If you run away, then also I'll call police and they will surely catch you. Horace said I would of course cut the telephone wires first, and then he hesitated, a smile on his face. I would make sure that you could do nothing for some time. A few hours would be enough. And he explains that first of all, I'll not allow you to, or I'll not let you call the police. First of all, I'll cut the wire. Like this means both are talking. She looked at him seriously. You would hurt me. Horace paused and then said, I think I was trying to frighten you when I said that. So he tries to explain that I won't hurt you. I was only making you afraid by saying this. You didn't frighten me. Horace suggested it would be nice if you would forget you ever saw me. Let me go. Now he requests or he tells that let me go. I have not harmed you for anything. So if I am caught red handed, then also you are so friendly. So please let me go. The voice was suddenly sharp. Why should I? You were going to rob me. If I let you go, you will only rob someone else. Society must be protected from men like you. So now her voice became sharp and she became little angrier. So she says that no, I will not let you go. You must be caught by the police because if I let you go, you will rob some else one. Horace smiled. I am not a man who threatens society. I steal only from those who have a lot of money. I steal for a very good reason and I hate the thought of prison. Now he explains everything that I don't steal for, means I steal for a good reason and I hate the thought of prison. I don't want to be caught. She laughed and he begged, thinking that he had persuaded her. Look, I have no right to ask you for anything, but I'm desperate. Let me go, and I promise never to do this kind of thing again. I really mean it. Now he tries to convince that let me go, please. He requests her to go or to let him go, and he promises that never, I will never do this kind of thing again. She was silent, watching him closely. Then she said, "You are really afraid of going to prison, aren't you?" She came over to him, shaking her head. "I have always liked the wrong kind of people." Now she tries to, she is trying that he doesn't get afraid. Okay, so she is also making him comfortable. So she says, "I have always liked the wrong kind of people." She picked up a silver box from the table and took a cigarette from it. Horace, eager to please her and seeing that she might help him, took off his gloves and gave her his cigarette lighter. "You will let me go?" He held the lighter towards her. "Yes, but only if you do something for me. Anything you say." "Before we left for London, now she says that if you do one favor or my work, then I'll let you go." So he asked that what is that, or I can do anything for you. So she says, "Before we left for London, I promised my husband to take my jewels to our bank, but I left them here in the safe. I want to wear them to a party tonight, so I came down to get them." So she tries to convince that before leaving for London, my husband, or I promised my husband to send the entire jewelry to bank, but I have not did it still, and today I want to wear this jewelry. So, and she has not completed her sentence. She says, "But," and Horace smiled. He knew that what she wants now. "So you have forgotten the numbers to open the safe, haven't you?" She says, "Yes. Just leave it to me and you will have them within an hour, but I'll have to break your safe." Now he says that, "Don't worry. I know what to do or how to break this safe. So within an hour I'll complete that task. Don't worry about that. My husband won't be here for a month and I'll have the safe mended by that time." So she says that, "Don't worry about that breaking of the safe. I'll mend it within a month." Means he will come after a month. So within some days I'll mend it. Mend means ठीक करना, उसको safe को वापस सही करना. And within an hour Horace had opened the safe, given her the jewels, and gone happily away. Now he was quite happy that he has completed his task and he was not caught by the police. For 2 days he kept his promise to the kind young lady. On the morning of the third day, however, he thought of the books he wanted and he knew he would have to look for another safe. Now, after 2 days, when he was thinking about those books, he was thinking about that lady, and for the purchasing of the books, he had to rob the another safe, or he wants to look for means to search for another safe, but he never got the chance to begin his plan. By noon a policeman had arrested him for the jewel robbery at Shotover Grange. Now this was the another shocking thing, that by that afternoon a policeman came and he arrested and he charged that he robbed the jewelry from that Shotover Grange. His fingerprints, for he had opened the safe without gloves, were all over the room. Now, because he had removed his gloves, that's why in the entire room there were his fingerprints available everywhere on his safe and everywhere. And no one believed him when he said that the wife of the owner of the house had asked him to open the safe for her, and he was trying to convince the police that she herself, means the wife of the owner of that house, told me to steal or told me to break the safe, but no one was believing. The wife herself, a grey haired, sharp tongued woman of 60, said that the story was nonsense, and exactly an original wife was of 60 years. She was not a pretty and young lady. The wife of that owner was grey haired and she was of 60 years, and she was saying that that was the nonsense thing. I didn't say anyone to break that safe. Now Horace is now the assistant librarian in the prison. He often thinks of the charming, clever young lady who was in the same profession as he was and who means cheated him. He gets very angry when anyone talks about honor among thieves. Now he was completely arrested, and now he is in the prison and working as an assistant librarian. And sometimes whenever he is free, he thinks about that pretty lady who cheated him. She herself was the thief. And whenever anyone talks about the honor among the thieves, he gets very angry. That is all about the story. Victor Canning is the writer of the story.